Get ready for your weekend on the water with us as we fish your favorite lakes like Fork, Toledo Bend, and Falcon, to name a few.
And on the coast, we're waiting for redfish and trout. Plus, we're getting some offshores for AJs, Dorados, and swordfish. Right here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report, and welcome to September. School's back, football season is here, and a lot is about to change on the fishing front too, right, Rick?
Yeah, they got a little weather off of the coast there, you know, and I think you're going to hear the guys talk about a little bit cooler mornings. I've been feeling it in the air myself. And that's certainly going to help the fishing in a big way as far as the longevity of the day.
Right. So. It's fall, y'all. Well, not yet, but almost. Before we head into our first region, let's go to the Ackier workbench and say hi to Mr. Dave Ferrell.
Hi.
Hi.
What's going on?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. We're going to be talking about the other bass today. You know, striped bass, hybrids, white bass, sand bass, that sort of stuff.
The others.
The other
That's
bass.
cool.
The others. All right, well, we're excited for that, but we're going to get going in the Startron Middle Fresh region where Matt Loescher is letting us in on some important changes going on to set you up for your weekend bite on Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn. Let's hear it, Matt.
All right, Brie. I know I always sound like a broken record with Toledo and Rayburn, especially this last month or so. It's just incredible how much these lakes change and how dynamic they are. They're these, especially on the bass fishing world, you know, just giants. So we're going to hang out on them today. And as you already alluded to, things are changing for sure all across the Middle Fresh region. Even way out on the western edge of the Middle Fresh region, they actually got some rain recently, which seems like it almost never happens anymore. So that was a nice relief, I'm sure, for those guys. Not enough to raise those lakes back up just yet, but I know they enjoyed a little cooler weather and some rain. But getting right into it, as far as what the fish are doing with all these changes, we're going to start on Toledo Bend. You know, many things have changed. We've had some rain. We've had some cooler days and nights. But the biggest, most notable change as far as Toledo Bend is concerned is that the dam operators have stopped the generators from running because the lake has been dropping lately, and it finally got down to that around that 168 level, which is where they're forced to stop the hydroelectric generators at the dam. So that means that current that we've had all summer, because we've had so much rain throughout the summer, that current is now gone. And so it's going to have these fish moving around a little bit. We've also had, you know, that rain pushing a little bit of water in the back of those creeks. Not enough rain coming in to raise that water level and get them generating again, but it does create a little bit of natural current in the back of those creeks and you know, flushes in some plankton and stuff like that, gets everything stirred up, so that pulls those bait fish to the back of the creek, and some of our bass are going to follow them, and that makes for a fun bite. You just have to stay with them and don't get too locked in on one area. It's all about staying with those bait fish right now and looking for the active fish. So the bass are setting up on ambush spots like ledges, points, big creek channel bends, wherever the most shad are. So what you're going to want to do is just search in 10-foot plus. There's not really a maximum, but I'd say 10 foot's about the minimum that those shad are going to be in. And once you find wherever the most shad are congregated, look to those spots like I just talked about, the points and the ledges, and start casting your crankbaits and your worms. Those are still your top producers. The bait categories haven't changed much. The type of crankbait may have changed. You're going to look for a lot shallower style crankbaits than what we have been using. Look to the Berkeley lineup for that. They've got whatever you need from square bills all the way to deep diver. Just choose the right one that matches the depth range that you're fishing. And then, of course, as far as colors, my favorite is the chartreuse blackback in the stained water, and then your natural shad colors like a white or a silver hue in the cleaner water. So just adjust that accordingly. All right, now moving over to Sam Rayburn. It's a similar story to Toledo Bend, you know, and they're in fairly close proximity to each other. They've been generating a lot over there. They've finally gotten the lake back down around full pool level, so it's not flooded anymore. You know, it's been flooded all summer over there because they've been holding that flood water back. So they've got it back down now, and they have stopped generating as well. I do expect them to generate some periodically in the near future, though, because the lake is still full. It's just not flooded anymore. So that off and on current is going to keep most of the fish near the main lake for now. You will want to look for some of the bass set up on those long flat points and on the edges of the main lake flats. Once again, shad are very important. Look for the big concentrations of them and start casting in those areas. Baits are pretty much the same as they have been lately. Your crankbaits and Carolina rigs are going to be my top choices, but Texas rigged worms and even topwaters can be a player because they will come up schooling a lot this time of the year just randomly, so have a topwater bait at the ready. All right, now Richland Chambers, going up there for just a second. Mr. Thurman Selman there with Bass Specialty Guide Service. He reports a shallow bite at Chambers. He said up there they're catching bass in 2 to 6 foot of water around the timber and around Pelican Island area. And some good quality fish up to 6 pounds have been coming on those Bass Assassin fat jobs and some creature baits fished very slowly around that timber. So it's kind of a methodical presentation, having to work for them a little bit, but they're catching some good fish. All right, now I'm going to jump back to Rayburn, and I'm going to switch species and talk about the crappie for just a minute. We got lots of good crappie lakes around the Middle Fresh region, but right now Rayburn's just really hot. Just the way things have worked out with that high water all summer, it's finally come down, and it's really concentrated those crappie out on those deep spots. And, man, it's been good around that deep timber, brush piles and bridge pilings out in about 25 all the way out to 35 feet of water. Those fish are suspending about halfway down around that timber, and they're biting on minnows and jigs both. They're just really catching them good over there. And I'm going to leave you with a photo of a table full of Sam Rayburn crappie some buddies of mine went and caught recently.
They did a good job. Thank you so much. We're going to go and take a look at the Rodan Marine Systems hotspots from the Middle Fresh region. Matt says the bass bite is strong on Toledo Bend with the fish chasing shads in the creeks, biting crankbaits and worms. Sam Rayburn has hot crappie action in 25 to 35 feet on minnows and on jigs.
All right, Rick. Well, waiting is the name of the game in the Fish Bites Middle Coast region. So let's find out where those trout and redfish are hiding with Captain Bink Grimes. Let's hear it, Bink.
Hey, this time of year we love to wade, and thankfully a lot of our customers have chosen that route. It's been a good summer wading sand and grass in West Bay, bud and shell in East Bay, and lots of guts and bars to surf. Mid-Bay Reefs and East Matagorda Bay turned on this week with our light wind. We've thrown sheep pups and Bass Assassins and soft dines and worked well on Half Moon Reef, Three Beacon Reef, and Long Reef. Drifters found good fish on live shrimp under Mid-Coast Poppy Cork around Boulder Bow, Raymond Shoals, Oyster Farm, and Boggy Cut. And then in San Antonio Bay, these light winds, those reefs are heating up, wading with live bait, posting up on the edge of the reef with finger mullet. Waders closer to Cedar Bow have found fish in the guts on soft plastics and corkies. Then Rockport anglers on the edge of the ICW have found trout on shrimp and piggy perch. Soft plastics like Bass Assassins have worked well on the edges around the shrimp boat channel as well. The jetty at Port Aransas has been good for trout on finger mullet, fingerline shrimp. The same holds true around the Freeport and Surfside Quintana jetties. We've had about 25 to 30 days of just really good surf action and jetty action in Texas here lately, so we've taken advantage of it. There's a photo. It's been a great August and early September for our drifters working Bass Assassins over scattered shell. We've caught and released a lot of really heavy quality trout. Redfish, West Matagorda Bay redfish are improving. You're anchoring over mud and incoming tide. We've got a lot of low pressure in the Gulf right now. It's pulled up our tides. September is always a good incoming tide month, but when we've got storms spinning like we do out in the Gulf right now, it really ramps up the tides. Albert Garrison reported good catches of reds along the grass line on the North Shore line. Some reds are beginning to school under birds. Like I said, tides are beginning to swell with all that low pressure in the Gulf. It pushes those fish in the shallows right up along the grass line where all those shrimp are trying to hide. Birds have worked over school and redfish at East Matagorda Bay. Gold spoons and shrimp have worked best. More reds are showing along the shorelines with those higher tides on that North Shore line of West Matagorda Bay around Shell Island and Twin Island. The jetty turned on for good catches of redfish from Matagorda all the way to Port Aransas. Mullet, piggy perch, and large table shrimp have worked. Redfish are showing along the south shore lines of Ishbrook to Santo Bay on Bass Assassins, Back Lakes, and Port Aransas have been giving up redfish on shrimp and then small topwaters. And then bull redfish are all over the Gulf right now. They're beginning their fall spawn. Beach anglers have tossed crabs and mullet in the surf. You might even see acres of redfish on the surface. They like to come to the surface during September for some reason. You'll just see acres and acres of redfish out there, and man, you throw anything in there and it gets bit. Offshore action, like I said, it's been a good month for offshore action. Most of our seas have been running 1 to 2 foot. Matagorda, Michael Quebec has been still chasing swordfish and tallfish 60 to 80 miles out. Really nice wahoo and dorado are found this week as well. In Port Aransas, there's a lot of kingfish, amberjack, and tuna being caught on those overnight trips, and a lot of tarpon shown along our beaches from Freeport all the way to Port Aransas and Port O'Connor. A lot of poons around the Port O'Connor jetties in the 60 to 90 foot class. And then there's a lot of anglers fishing at night. They're doing a lot of fishing in the morning time and then dove hunting in the evening. September 14th is our teal season opener, and our ponds look good. September is also a great month for our Ducks Unlimited banquets here around the state. You know, you attend one, they're a lot of fun, a lot of money generates, helps raise more baby ducks. And Ducks Unlimited does a lot for our duck hunters in Texas and all of the Central Flyway. We ask that you please, treat our bays and beaches with the same respect you would your own home. Give catch and release a chance. It's pretty cool, and it's working in Texas.
Thank you so much, Bink. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the mirror lure hotspots from the Middle Coast region. Bink says that the trout are good on the reefs in San Antonio Bay on live shrimp while wading with bass assassins. The redfish are good for waders in West Matagorda Bay on bass assassin sea shads as well.
All right, well, everyone needs to stay hooked because we're taking you down into the Sea Sucker Lower Coast region when we come back. But first, Dave is getting us all hooked up at the Yak Gear workbench for rigs and techniques.
Yes, I am. We're going to be talking about some topwater stuff and some crazy spoon crankbait combinations.
What?
Yeah,
Crazy combos.
crazy combos.
Say it isn't so. We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Fenwick. Feel everything. Bahio. Blue light blocking, radically clear polarized fishing sunglasses. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. 30 years of fishing for adventure. Berkeley, your fish, our science. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
So we're here at the Yak Gear workbench. You know, Dave, rigs and techniques in Texas is always really interesting because
Yes, sir.
they have such a diverse fishery.
Well, and I got to call up Matt Cartwright. He's a guide on Lake Tawakoni, and he catches a lot of these bass, these striped bass, hybrid bass, white bass, sand bass, all these other little bass. And I picked his brain a little bit and came up with some stuff. He straight off the bat, he said, the striped bass in Texas don't get as big as they do in saltwater or some of the northern places because of the temperature of the water. They don't live as long. The hot water kind of, stunts them a little bit, but you still can catch some nice big ones. And he says if you really want to catch a striped bass, a live bait is the thing to use. A nice gizzard shad or a thread fin on a circle hook, or what they like to use is a kale hook.
Right.
And they said that's pretty much an automatic thing. Once you find the fish and you put a live bait on them, you're going to catch them. But just like most of the fellas, down there, they'll put that on a Carolina rig. 1 to 2 ounce weight, depending on the size of your bait. If you have a 6 or 7 inch gizzard shad, you want to use a bigger weight, maybe a 2 ounce. Smaller ones, you use a 1 ounce. But once you get on top of them and throw that live bait on them with that kale hook, you're going to catch them. You're really going to nail them. But he likes to use artificial baits, and he finds these fish using his side scan sonar. He's looking for ledges at different depths during different times of the year. During the summer, 5 to 10 feet. But during the winter, he'll go down to 30 to 40 feet. Because striped bass and these hybrid bass and the sand bass, during the summertime, they will all stay together. They're schooling fish. They like to be in big schools. So when he's looking for them on his sounder, he's not looking for that 1 or 2. He was wanting that sounder to light up like he's got a school of crappie.
Gotcha.
That's what he's looking for. And once he finds that ledge, he likes to use a jigging spoon or a 4 to 6 inch swim bait like those bass assassins there. And the green water in Tawakoni, he likes to use really, really bright colors. April, yellows, chartreuses, greens, and that sort of thing. April through October, these bass and will all be up together, all by themselves, and they won't separate until the wintertime. and then when they go to spawn, they go all their different ways. They will eat anything during the summer. On the surface, they like when they're up on the surface chasing shad and whatnot. The big topwater, the chopo, and that prop bait there. Those
savage.
are the savage. Those are great baits to throw. Any walk the dog like the jaywalker. All those things work really well. Because once they're up on top, they're just easy to catch. You throw anything into that pile, and they're going to roll on it.
Right.
He also likes to troll a lot.
Okay.
And he'll troll an Alabama rig.
Okay.
You know, festooned with a bunch of little stuff on there.
Whatever his little favorite plastics are.
Yep. And swim and another again swim baits again. And he'll actually put these on a cannon downrigger.
Okay.
He'll find the depth that they're laying at, and then troll by. And what he wants to do, because these fish, once they get down to those depths, they want something that comes by, horizontal and stays with them and at a certain speed. So that's the best thing to do is to use a troll for it. This here,
Deep diving crankbait.
yeah, well,
no
it's
hooks.
this is kind of an abomination I made up because he uses one called the Hell Pet, and evidently everybody uses it. It's a hellbender crankbait, and with a peat aceta spoon. That's why it's called a Hell Pet. And that is not a hellbender, and that is not a peat aceta spoon. But this is how it's done.
It's a Dave version.
Exactly. They take that crankbait and they'll take the hooks off of it and they'll put a little casting weight on the front.
It's amazing how much that added weight to it.
Right, and this gets down. This is to make that crankbait get down, and then 2 or 3 feet, or maybe even up to 5 feet, they'll put that spoon on there, that peat aceta spoon, and what that does is he says this little sand bass, you can troll that by a point with sand bass on it, troll them 2 at a time, and you'll catch 2 at a time until your arms wear out.
White bass, everything.
Yeah, they love to eat that. So that little
you did a great job.
the Hell Pet.
Dude, you did your homework tonight. Thank you so much, Dave.
Oh, yeah,
That was really
and
good.
Dave, I've actually fished with Mr. Cartwright, and
Oh.
he knows his stuff.
There you go.
He knows his stuff. Very consistent all the time. All right, we're sitting pretty this weekend in the Seasucker Lower Coast region with Captain Chad Kinney. So, Chad, what do we have to look forward to inshore and offshore?
Tell you what, everything's been going on fire. I love this time of year. We got a little front coming in this weekend, which is kind of odd, kind of early, but I think it's just going to turn the fishing on even better, both inshore and offshore after it pushes through. But talking about inshore, the trout fishing has been really, really good along the east cut out of Port Mansfield. That's going straight out to the jetties there. And the redfish are actually been holding at the lower coast jetties when the weather conditions are good there. So that trout fishing, I said, like it's been really nuts in the east cut there in Port Mansfield. Best way to do fishing this stuff right now is you can power pole down right on the edge right there around the grass beds on the drop off and work those drop offs. And if not, get your Rodan trolling motor and anchor lock it off to throw right into the guts in the drop off. So you can get off 15, 20, 30 feet, depends how far you can kind of cast in the wind or anything like that to work those guts. And that's really, really productive. You can get that route going. It's better. The live bait, live croaker's working really, really good. Free lined with a 5/0 to 6/0 Eagle Claw Kale hook right now. That's a perfect size hook for the size baits we're using. If we're using some lures, then we're definitely using the Saltwater Assassin Sea Shad. I like that magic grass, of course. That's my favorite color in that stuff, and it's working really good. Work those drop-offs on the edges of those grass beds right along that east cut there and the ICW and the cut going out there. The bite's best right now with the tide, low tide when it starts pushing out. When it just starts falling out, get there early, working best like that. If it gets rushing really hard, if you get a late start or it's rushing or tides change on you, if it's really hauling really good, the bite's going to be really slow, so move to something different. But the early bite, like I said, is definitely better. And once you get done with the trout, then you don't have far to go to move out to the jetties for the redfish action. So talking about those redfish, they've been moving in and out of the lower coast jetties, Port A, Port Mansfield, South Padre. The best way to do this one, we talk about a bunch, but get your Rodan trolling motor out there too, and find you an eddy, find you definitely a washout. Look for some watercolor, look for bait moving. A lot of menhaden to start move right now. Live croaker or finger melon on the Carolina rigs working really, really good. If you're using the lures, then go to the heavier Eagle Claw jig head. Go to a 3/4 to about a 1 ounce, basically, and anchor lock your Rodan and just vertically jig up and down that bottom, or you can cast along the edges and then work it, bump it along the edge of the rocks there. Another effective way is you can use some fish bites on a Carolina rig and then target those reds right on the bottom there, kind of set it and forget it, kind of catch it out there, wait for the pole to go and hammer down on them. The weather conditions have been really good, so make the fishing trips when you get there. Just kind of keep an eye out for this weather this weekend, but it's going to be really on fire, I think, between now and mid-October at least. So offshore fishing, I've been really going a bunch out there right now, and it's the time of year to go. Floater rig trips have just been on fire for yellowfin, and we're getting some Dorado actually in the mix out there. So right now, the best bet on Dorado, I've been hitting the inshore stuff 50, 60 miles out, but we've been going to floater rigs, and we're getting in the Dorado. What we're doing is downsizing our baits to some smaller islanders, cedar plugs. Troll these at like 7.5 to 8 knots. They're not huge numbers of them, but the last trip we just went out there, we landed 5. They're not chickens. They're working pretty good. They're in that 10 to 15 pound range. Lost a big one there, but work those floater rigs, the work boats out there, the drill ships, any weed lines you can find out there, floating debris. There's a little bit of stuff scattered, so work that stuff for sure. On the tackle for this stuff, we're like using trolling. We're using a 16 wide Penn International up to about a 30 wide. There's plenty for that, and use a 30 pound Berkeley mono spooled up with that. Works perfect. And try when you get these guys up to the boat, try for a headshot on these things. They get pretty swirly and crazy, and go straight to the cooler with them. They get pretty wild. And if you've got some smaller ones going, don't worry about a gap shot. Just kind of swing them in with one fluid motion on your leader and go right to the cooler. If you hit them on the gunnel and stuff like that, let them flop around, you're going to get a good chance they're going to spit the hook on you. So talking about the yellowfin, which is one of my favorite. I've been out there, I think 6 trips in the last 14 days, doing 2 nights, and it's just been freaking epic. We're running a 70-foot custom right now, and we're doing a bunch of trips. Like I said, the morning bite's been better. We're trolling Islander lures, rigged with some bigger ballyhoos on that stuff. On the flats, we're also catching some on the Savage Max Stick, the speed runners. Put those on your flat lines and the ballyhoo out farther with your Islanders. The night bite, normally where it's at, but it's been kind of slower. We've had like a 2.5 knot current, which it makes it difficult to chunk or jig. So what we're doing is we're going to a heavier Savage jig. When you're doing that, to spend some time waiting for that morning bite to happen again, drop down to 200 to 300 feet, depending where they're at on your sounder, vertically jig for them. And like I said, but most of the fish are definitely coming off that morning troll, which might switch out here in a little bit, but we're catching 90% of our fish doing that. And so right now we're offering, 1 night, 2-day trips. We're also doing a lot of 2 night, 3-day trips since it's such a far run, and we're having a lot of stuff on the Bam Bam charter. So got a picture here. The last trip we went on, we caught 11 yellowfin like this, and 5 or 6 Dorado, and they're all ranging that 40 to 70 pound class.
Oh, man.
Chad, me and Brie are getting in the plane. We're coming there. I don't care who you got. Just go ahead.
Bring it on. I'll keep I'll warm up the boat right now.
Get it fueled up. Tell Dory to put some food on there, and we're out of here.
I can go.
We're going.
All right, bud. Thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the lower coast region. Chad says inshore, the East Cut out of Port Mansfield is producing some good numbers of trout along the drop-offs and the guts. Redfish are still moving in and out of the lower coast jetties. And then if you want to go offshore, guys, the fishing has been on fire at the floater rigs for yellowfin, tunas, and Dorados.
Obviously.
You see the size of those yellowfins?
Gosh, that's awesome. Dave, you're invited too. We can't leave Dave out.
Let's just take
He's
everybody
right
we know. 70-footer. We could put a lot of people on.
Exactly.
We could.
Yeah,
Whole
man.
crew, let's go.
Come
All right, get ready, anglers. The lakes in the upper and the lower fresh region are on fire as well, so stay hooked, and we'll be right back with your guides. But remember to keep up with everything fishing in Texas. Scan that QR code on your screen to check out all of our social media pages, our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy, and on our website, you can purchase products you see right here on the show. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. Abyss Battery. Power your pursuit. Ducks Unlimited. Leader in wetlands conservation. Rodan. Set it, forget it, catch more fish. Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome. And Penn. Let the battle begin.
Welcome back. Rick, a few weeks ago, we had our Captain Jim Ross in the studio, and he was giving us the 411 on some Skeeter boats. So let's hear what he has to say.
All right.
Hey everybody, I'm Captain Jim Ross. I'm one of the Skeeter National Team members. Been on the team since 2008. And I want to tell you a little bit about this FXR series that Skeeter puts out right now in their Bass Series line. Now, one of the things that you cannot show on screen is how well these things ride in the water. Comfort and safety is the main thing that they engineer into these hulls. Speed comes at a cost, and safety is key whenever you're out there on the water. You want to go fast, but you want to be able to have a controlled, easy to run boat, and that's exactly what these boats are. Now, some of the other features, they've got dual live wells in the back here, and these things are fully plumbed, aerated, keep your bass in good shape, and you guys and gals should be able to get back to the dock and have some great looking fish to put at the weigh-in. Up on the front deck, we've got just massive amounts of area here. And of course, you've got rod storage on one side. It's really cool. You can just simply pull them up, slide them in and out, slap them back down, away you go. If you don't have as many rods as most guys, doesn't matter. But if you've got more rods than the average guy, guess what? We can put tons of rods in this massive rod storage here. You like tackle? Guess what else we've got? Huge tackle storage. You can take everything in the tackle store and the other tackle store as well and load it all in here, and you can get it out on the lake. So you're never going to miss out on catching that fish because you didn't have what you didn't need. Last but not least, want to talk about customer service. Customer service with Skeeter is top notch. They've won 22 consecutive National Marine Manufacturers Association's Consumer Satisfaction Awards, 22 consecutive years. That's telling you Skeeter's going out there and putting you in the best product possible.
It's all about the quality, and you don't win 22 years in a row because it was an accident.
The proof's in the pudding.
They build some great boats over there at Skeeter.
Absolutely. Good job, guys.
Good job, guys.
All right, well, we're seeing full tables and big smiles in the upper fresh region, which can only mean one thing. Tell us how we can get some of that on Athens, Ray Hubbard, Boat Ark, Levon, Tawakoni, and Fork. Mike?
Hey, Brie. Hey, Captain.
Hey, bud.
I just got to say, I've got a Skeeter, and I love my Skeeter. It is an awesome, awesome, awesome rig. Let's tell you about bass fishing. Athens, right now, the top water bite remains good. The schooling bass, same thing, kind of Berkeley top waters. The Bass Assassins, those two combination of baits are your best. You can also work some of the docks and the grass and the back water points, finesse jigs, Texas rigs, things like that, because we are cooling just a little bit. But moving on to Ray Hubbard with Joe Shipley, Berkeley crankbaits, finesse jigs, and shaky heads. The shaky head tipped with a 7.5-inch Bass Assassin tap-out worm. Any one of those combinations of baits there used around rock or rock structure, and in the main lake seems to be the best area, but Hubbard's fishing pretty good. Finally, back to Boat Ark. Jay Bonner said that the water temperatures are ranging 84, 87. The bass are good, and they're being caught out of the brown timber. Once again, like in the few months back, we had that flipping bite. That's bass. So the deep edges, flipping Texas rigs and jigs. I really like the Bass Assassin has produced a lot more baits than just an assassin, call it shad. And they've got a whoop crawl and a skunk ape, which are perfect baits to flip by themselves, but they're also great trailers for a jig. So check those out. The whoop crawl and the skunk ape, those are my favorite. But Boat Ark's really producing a lot of fish. When you find some good fish, you're really on a big group of them. You can also fish a little bit of the offshore humps and brush piles and stuff where a Carolina rig can clean some of those fish up. But check out Boat Ark. It's back on the list. Lake Fork continues to be best at night. The boat docks with green underwater fiber optic lighting. They attract huge schools of bait fish, which in turn attract the bass. I like throwing shallow crankbaits, square bills, small swim baits, flutter spoons. Those are all going to catch fish. But my favorite, just a half-ounce crawfish colored jig. Here's a secret. I'll work the edges of the lights, not the light itself. Work the dark edges. The daytime bite's still kind of slow. You can catch a big one right now on the main lake points real early. Top waters really is the best. Big worm or top water. But the first thing, I do see things changing. We're cool trending a lot real fast, transitioning into fall. And so I expect to see a lot more big bass like this one here. But here's a late summer Lake Fork special. Very common size bass for Lake Fork right here. Nice. We'll see more of them in the fall.
Nice.
Beautiful.
All right. What else you got this week?
All right, crappie fishing on Lake Levon is great. Light hand-tied jigs. Kerry Thorne says the laydowns in any type of hard structure 9 to 18 feet, and also brush piles in 15 feet. And then the bluegills. If same areas that you're fishing for crappie, just switch your baits, switch over to light line, 2 to 4 pound test, and use wax worms, earthworms, mealworms, or crickets. And Kerry says that he promises the crickets will catch the bigger bluegills. Really good eating there. Then Jackie Wiggins on crappie here at Fork. He says that it's really the same as last week. The fish continue to be excellent. Seeing a lot of white crappie in the 18 to 20 foot range along the creek channels. He says the key is to covering a lot of water. Fork has had a lot of pressure for crappie lately. And so you just got to move and move and move till you find the right fish that are willing to eat. There's also some single fish here and there on what they call pole timber, which is single, just post timber, just a tree with no appendages. But I would stick to looking for those schools in 18 to 28 feet of water. If you can't catch them with the hand-tied jigs, go to a live minnow. Jackie says live minnows has saved him a lot of times. And even tipping that hand-tied jig with a live minnow can work really, really good. And then here's Jackie Wiggins. As always, this guy works so hard to fill his tables, but happy clients with a lot of fish going home right here.
Yep. All right, bud, what else you got?
Stripers on Levon, which we have white bass. There's a thermocline around 27 to 30 feet, so most would be above. Look for a little top water early, and then slab spoons on your points. And then Tawakoni's back on again. Hybrids are schooling early and late. Early morning, run those slab spoons in a little top water. Look for some of the birds. That'll get you in the right area. But we're back definitely Tawakoni on fire with those hybrids. Here's Matt. Awesome table of fish right here. It's really exciting to catch that many fish in a short amount of time.
There we go, Mr.
All right,
Bright.
man. Thank you so much. We're about out of time, so let's just go ahead and say goodbye. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Ducks Unlimited hotspots. Mike says, for the third week in a row, Lake Athens offers some of the best topwater action of the year. Topwater lures like the Berkeley Bullet Pop in natural colors and 4-inch vapor shads from Bass Assassin in the colored albino are cleaning up the offshore schooling bass.
All right, well now we're seeing what the lower fresh region is blessing us with on Lake Travis, Decker, Bastrop, Austin, and of course, Matt Reed's baby, Lake Falcon. Go for it, Matt.
That'd be her, Brie. Let's kick this thing off. I'm going to kick it off with Falcon. The Falcon Lake bass are cooperating pretty well. I can fish the shallow rock with small plastics and catch a bunch of numbers without many good ones. I definitely prefer to spend the majority of my time out deeper on the rock drops in that 12 to 18 foot of water to target the bigger fish. Shaky heads, football jigs, and the Berkeley Dredger crankbaits have been producing quite a few giants. So that's what I prefer to do, but if you want to catch a bunch, you can stay up shallow and get it done. Mike Bakes sent a report from Choke Canyon. Lake level continues to fall. The Callahan State Park boat ramp is still usable, getting pretty shallow, but it is still got some water on it. The best bite is around the matted grass early in the morning with top water and swim baits. One thing that he is doing now is using his forward-facing sonar to look for some clumps of grass that are a little bit deeper out in front. Most of these clumps that are underwater have got bass in them, so that's very important. You can look out in front of you and find those isolated patches. There tend to be fish concentrated around them. The schooling bass have diminished a little bit. They're moving really fast, so they're hard to catch. So, that hadn't been as successful this week, but there's still some of them. If you happen to get on them, you can throw a rattle bait to catch them. The best bite for him has been on main lake brush piles. A big Texas rig plastic will catch those fish, and he's got a strange thing going on. He says they're either real little or real big, but that is your best chance to catch a big one right now. Brian Cotter sent a report from the Austin area. Lake Travis is fishing decent. There's lots of fish offshore. You're going to have to use your electronics to find them because they're bunched up. Once you find them, you can have a great time catching a bunch of them in one spot. Throw jigs, shaky heads, or Texas rig soft plastic to them, and just load up the boat once you find them. There's also some decent fish shallow around the new flooded cover from when the lake came up. 5-inch soft plastic stick baits have been working best for those. Lake Decker, catching lots of fish throwing worms around the hydrilla. Also still getting some to come up and bust a frog around that matted grass.
swim baits are working really well when they're schooling. He says both sides of the lake can be good, but some days it's one, some days it's the other. So you just have to check. Don't get locked up on one side, cover water, and you'll find some active fish. Like bass trout, the bass are still schooling really well early in the morning in the discharge area and several other places throughout the lake. Small swim baits on a belly-weighted hook or a tiny straight-tail swim bait on a jig head have been your best choices to catch them. There's some really big fish on the deep humps. Carolina rig soft plastics have been the best way to target those fish. Chase those schoolers and move out on the deep humps to try to get you a big one to go in the box. Lake Austin's been fishing good. It's been best at night. Avoid the heat. Get out at night. The fish are still hanging around the docks. Big creature baits and worms have been your best option. During the daytime, the docks are still key. Fish are in the shade then. You want to use your jigs and big worms, get back under the docks to target those fish. There's also some hanging in the thick vegetation. So jigs and Texas rig plastics around that thick vegetation to continue catching throughout the day. Got me 3 bass pictures there. Kind of a little bit falcon heavy on these this week. Got JP in that first picture with a big old falcon bass. Jeff with another one, and myself bringing up the rear there with that third one.
Well, the water looks pretty down there, Matt. I like those pictures.
Real pretty. It's fishing well. I could use a little more water. We're really low. Getting a little rain right now. Hopefully we'll quit falling and get fortunate and catch a flood where we can get some new water.
Tell me about the kitty cats. 20 seconds.
All right. Falcon Lake, channels and blues continue to bite well. The basics are cut bait, shrimp, and the catfish fish bites. These are the best producers for keeper-sized cats. You want to target those trophy blue cats, tilapia and fresh-cut carp are the ticket. They're in the deeper holes in the river. Got a picture of Ram Reyes with one of his customers there with a big old blue cat.
All right, bud, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the lower fresh region. He says that Lake Falcon bass are supplying plenty of fun, target shallow rocks and gravel points. Early morning, there's Berkeley Chapo bite that lasts for a few hours. Later, throw square bills and plastics to keep the action rolling.
A little heavy on the falcon bass photos. You don't say there, Matt.
A little heavy.
A little heavy, I'd say. All right, well, we're wrapping up the summer bite in the Front Runner Boats Upper Coast region. But first, Dave has given us some new product goodies to look at the Yak Gear Workbench.
Oh,
Dave.
boy.
Dave.
Look at that. Very nice, huh?
Ooh, that's a goodie right there.
That looks like Fortuna.
Yeah, very nice.
That's a baddie but a goodie. We'll be right back.
Bet you it's expensive.
Probably.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Abu Garcia, Fish to Win, Fenwick, Feel Everything, Berkeley Pro Spec Chrome, Island Lures, Tournament Tackle, Sea Sucker, easy on, easy off, incredibly strong. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Miro lure. Front Runner Boats, performance-built offshore fishing boats made in the USA. And Startron. Start, run, and store with Startron.
Today's Powerful Tip is all about the new Powerful One Pump. Several years ago, we had a goal to operate 2 Powerful anchors off of 1 single pump. We looked at every pump manufacturer here in the United States and overseas, and we got the same answer from all of them. It's impossible to run 2 poles off of 1 pump in the same space. But you know Powerful specializes in making the impossible possible. So today, I'd like to show off our new Powerful One Pump, machined out of billet aluminum right here in Tampa Bay. All of the valves and engineering from 2 pumps is built into this 1 single footprint. It has a new quick release valve with a spring-loaded pin that's easy to get in and out of the boat. It's so good, it saves half of the space in your boat, it cuts down on your install time, and it uses 41% less amp draw. The Powerful One Pump is precise, it's smooth, and it's quieter than ever before. To learn more about the One Pump, go to powerpole.com, and that's your Powerful Tip.
Well, we're back here at the Yak Gear workbench. Time for the taco new products. And you know, Dave.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at this beautiful Hardy fly reel. It's the Fortuna. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Well, that's the Hardy Fortuna Regent, and that fly reel, you know, Hardy makes fly reels for the Royals, by the way. They do a lot of their tackle.
Of course they do.
And they're designed for use in some of the most demanding conditions around the globe. And this one is built around a carbon fiber multi-pad disc drag system that is sealed and waterproof. It's got that large arbor in there so you can pick up line really fast, and a narrow spool so it doesn't, you know, it's not big and bulky. You're not fighting it.
Tremendously light.
Very, very light. There's hardly any metal in there. You can see right through the thing. 6,000, 8,000, 10,000, and a 12,000 size. That's the 10,000, which is like a 9 weight. And it's got a left handle you can put on the left or the right.
Correct. It's very easy to change that out. We just take this part out, switch the bearing around, put that part in, and now it becomes a right-handed retrieve.
Yep. And if you're wanting a good fly reel, that's the one to get. Hardyfishing.com to get that. Next, we have Scientific Anglers. Their Amplitude Smooth Bonefish Plus fly line. We're keeping with the fly tradition here. We're starting. Highest performance smooth lines in the world, they say.
Without a doubt.
That's what they say. 5 times less drag and 8 times more durability than traditional fly line.
That's correct.
Extended head length and lighter half heavy weight in the front, but it maintains that short temper to cast long leaders. Is that correct?
That is correct. So I'll add just a little bit to this. You know, Dave, you did a really good job. The cool part about the Amplitude is obviously the taper. And when you're bone fishing, a lot of times, Dave, you got to make that quick cast. And if you look here, you can see this is kind of how the taperage is. It's weighted way forward so that you can make that little 30, 40-foot cast when you didn't see a fish when they just pop up in front of you. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that makes the Scientific Anglers line. They make tapers for every application. It could be tarpon, it could be sinking, it could be steelhead, it could be trout. They make the best fly lines beyond belief.
Well, that also has the AST plus slickness additive for superior shooting ability and durability as well. High contrast sighter at the end, so you know where your fly line ends once you get that fly line out of there. And it's got Tropic Core technology, which allows it to stay stiff and slick in really hot weather.
That's correct.
So scientificanglers.com to get that Amplitude smooth bonefish fly line.
You did a good job, Dave.
Next, we've got, I don't know much about fly fishing. Next, we've got the Jig Pro Fishing Swim Paddle Tail. These are really cool swim baits for targeting, you know, trout, redfish, bottom fish offshore, tarpon, even snook. Patent pending, easy rig system. Inside of these baits here, which I probably won't be able to get one out pretty quick, but you can see it has a hole already pre-molded into the jig, so that when you go to put the jig head on there, it goes straight in the middle, and that's pretty much their patent pending easy rig system. And it has a really cool keeper on the jig head as well. I don't know if I want to pull one of these apart, but yeah, it's got a really cool keeper on there, and that's part of their system. Strong BKK hooks.
Plungers.
Just, you know, effective at any depth. They go from 3 inches up to 7 inches and weigh from a 1/4 ounce all the way up to 3 ounces. They have UV enhanced colors, and just really cool jigs.
Where do we go to find
it? Swim jigs. Jigprofishing.com.
All right, Dave, one of my favorite products on the new Front Runner is the Black Oak LED night vision that we have, but this is a new light they've come out with.
This is the Black Oak Low Pro Marine LED light bar. It's the lowest profile light bar on the market. Streamlined look that mounts flush to your boat. Has built-in dimming switches. It has adjustable feet. You get these little feet with it, and you can adjust them so you can make sure that it's exactly perfect, you know, because all T-tops are a little different. And you can have that thing pointed exactly how you want it. 18 ultra bright LEDs, 12,000 lumens, massive light output. IP69 water resistance. You can get a flood or the spot.
I like that it's so low profile. I don't have to adjust my camera. It'll fit underneath.
Your cameras, your radars, and everything. And if you order it off lowpro blackoakled.com. We'll give you 35% off if you put in the coupon code LOWPRO35.
LOWPRO35.
blackoakled.com.
All right, there you go. Go to our website and you can click on it and it goes right to it.
And get lit.
That's it. That's it. Tell it.
In the front runner boats, Upper Coast region, trout, redfish, AJs, and Dorados are taking over your weekend. So let's get into the frenzy with Captain Carl Weston.
Hey guys, you know, the inshore trout bite is heating up here in early September, and as summer comes to an end for us, we'll see more and more bait schools near shore, and the trout, they'll leave their little deep holes that are nice and cool, and they'll head back and feed near those creek outlets and channel edges. So for the first 3 hours before the tide is high, and the first 2 hours of an outgoing tide is prime fishing right now. As those trout, you know, they love to ambush bait caught in that same current. This is why the popping cork or regular slip cork is so popular here in Texas. Guys, it just plain works. You can adjust your depth placement by drifting your bait around the inlets and those small creek outlets until you get bit. Then you just repeat that drift. That time you can also switch to hard plastics or a swim bait now that you have your range, you know where the fish are. Ferrell makes a huge selection of killer crankbaits. The Minnow MR19, say that 3 times, is a suspended twitch bait that the trout just can't resist. We have a picture today of a pretty trouty young man caught.
Nice. All right, what else you got?
The Reds over in Sabine Lake, which you know well, Rick, and they are schooled from the jetties all the way back to the grass flats inshore. That early morning bite is crazy. The last few hours of light on the beaches, they're saying when the wind is from the north, is just amazing.
Did we lose him? We lose you, Carl?
We lost Carl.
All right, so we'll go ahead and continue. He's talking about the redfish in Sabine Lake. You know, you're going to use cut shad on a slip rig, and a dead shrimp is good for right now. As far as the slot reds inside, free lining little finger mullet on a 4.0 trocar circle hook is going to work. And then you might want to try some Berkeley Vanish leader. Try these same rigs with a chunk of fish bites and blue crab. That bait seems to catch whatever's out there and gets the job done. Now, offshore, he says that the first species, he had a fun group picture first off. Let's get his picture there. A little group catching some of those big redfish over there in Sabine Lake, know them very well.
Fun.
Offshore, we're gonna go to amberjacks, guys. On September 1st, the fall amberjack season opens in Texas, and now there's fish are built to test your back and your butt and your everything, fishing gear.
Nice.
It would attempt to go any smaller than a 30 wide or a 30 to 50 pound rod, at least 60 pound main line with a 100 pound leader. Tie on a 12.0 trocar circle hook with a heavy bait. Use big baits. You might want to go even heavier if you're back east at some of those oil platforms. The limit is 1 per person per day. At least he has to be 38 inches long. When looking for amberjacks on your bottom machine, they will usually suspend about halfway down, and they will be a long hook mark, so don't miss out. Tell us about the stud picture of this AJ, Carl.
Oh. Yeah, Alan hooked this little guy while we were looking for some bigger fish, but it was a pretty nice one.
All right, tell me about the mahis.
Yeah, the schools of smaller Dorado have been hanging out around the broken weed lines, and this week that's definitely been an improvement with the fish on these current breaks. We just went through a cycle with a moon where fishing was bad, and they're out about 70 miles right now. That current break is really getting better. The water is cobalt blue, and although the bait is scattered still a little bit, they're still hiding around that debris and grass. I definitely say it's a good idea to watch those gulls. You watch them diving on that bait, it'll bring you right to the schools of fish. The deep water shrimp boats have been holding a little better fish, a little bigger in the 200-foot range. Throwing an islander in green and yellow around 8 knots was sure money last week. Now, we also like to run a few naked ballyhoo in the spread. I run them about 75 or 80 feet down the middle, and it seems like it will trigger a bigger bite, a lot of times on a big bull. So turn the clickers on those 10 reel guys and let the battle begin.
Tell me about the picture, Carl. We're running out of time. Tell me about Mr. Reyes and his little chicken.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, Mr. Reyes and his little chicken. It's small, but it counted.
All right, bud. We're going to go ahead. We've got to go if we're going to get the upscale glass company hotspots, which we got to get those in. Inshore chasing trout in the inlets, on the outlets, the larger bays and channel edges, while throwing shrimp on a slip rig. And then offshore, target amberjacks about 75 miles out along the east oil rig platforms while dropping live hardtails by the big rigs.
Gosh, that AJ was massive.
It was
My
a big
back,
one.
everything hurts.
It was a big one.
Painful.
Yeah.
You caught one bigger than that?
I caught a 108-pounder and 20-pounder when I was 25
Why'd I
years
even
old.
ask? Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week. Catch those big fish.
Bye, guys.